When it comes to cutting-edge gaming experiences on smartphone, Infinity Blade has really carved a name for itself. The franchise is famous for having sharp weapons and even sharper graphics. Now it's time to see how the trilogy wraps up in Infinity Blade 3.
Kill the immortal is impossible, they said. But I, the worker of secrets, embraced the deathless warlord and forged you, a weapon to slay the unslayable.
Another Infinity Blade?
When you first look at Infinity Blade 3, it's impossible not to talk about the visuals first. The game wrings every last drop of power out of the Unreal 3 engine to create rich fantasy landscapes that are just amazing. But the real stars are the fighters themselves. Each brawler's armor is lavished with so many intricate details and glossy effects.
The biggest change in the new game is the addition of a second playable character, Issa. She's a roguish thief who wields a crossbow. It's like they read my mind badge.
Did you find what you were looking for?
I love the way she lurks in the shadows before each fight, and then when she's ready, she politely gets her enemy's attention.
And as you'd expect, regular star Cirrus returns as the other playable character. They're both deathless, which is the game's way of saying they're immortal, a trick that comes in very handy considering how many times you have to replay levels.
Did I die?
Yes, but you've been reborn.
Together, they're teaming up to take down the resident villain, the Worker of Secrets. Naturally, he's got a whole army of titans to throw against you, so expect a lot of stabbing.
They pretty much nailed the combat in the last game, so they've left the core mechanics unchanged. Swiping swings your blade, but if you just rush in with a lot of attacks, they'll bounce off harmlessly.
The key is to watch your opponent and wait for the right opening. By judging which direction their attack is coming from, you can swipe into it to parry. Deflect a few blows in a row and they'll be stunned, which is your cue to open up a can of whoop-ass.
Yeah, the back and forth of those parries just flows perfectly, doesn't it? Things do get a bit trickier when you're squaring off against larger opponents, though. As you'd expect, you can't parry a troll's leg, so you'll need to dodge and block these guys. I don't know about you, but I just didn't find the combat as much fun against them.
Yeah, neither did I. I like the parry system, but it's just so hard to read these guys. Often I'd have to go and do a different level to buff up my stats before I could take them on again. And this is one of the biggest departures the new game makes. Instead of having to explore one linear tower, you have this hideout hub world where you can browse from available levels and power up your gear.
I found it a little bit intimidating trying to figure out what I was best off powering up at first.
You won't find anyone else with stock like this.
There are 3 different weapon classes, and each of these have loads of blades to earn. Plus there are gems to equip with their own buffs. And on top of that, there's a big range of armor upgrades as well.
Yeah, the upgrades felt bloated to me. Every few minutes, another piece of gear would be mastered, so this meant I had to either buy a better one, or just accept that I get 0 experience points from it. And this experience is pretty important now, because it's used to unlock new moves. I also found it frustrating that certain combo attacks, which were available from the start of the last game, had to be unlocked here, and I just found pointlessly grindy.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the unlocks and upgrades are there to balance out the combat. The combat is great, but if it was just endless fights, I think it would get boring quite quickly. Plus, I love the little bags of gold they hide around the place. Ah, precious loot. You can even grab them in the middle of cutscenes.
Quite an entrance. What happened to you? Why did your Serengal attack?
I just didn't feel like these upgrades were the right way to balance this game, especially the new silly potion cooking. I just don't like it when a game makes me come back later when an item's ready, but lets me fork over in-game cash to get it instantly. I just found the new push to microtransactions in this game pretty cheeky for a premium priced game.
Yeah, but to be fair, you don't need to fork out for any of those microtransactions, and I'd rather they use it here than have you pump extra cash in to obliterate enemies that should be challenging. I was impressed with how well they've wrapped this trilogy up. I would have liked to have seen Issa's fighting style be a little bit more distinctive, but that's a minor gripe. I think the small size of the levels too are perfect for smartphone pick up and play, so I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10.
I feel like they weighed this one down with pointless busy work, so I'm giving it 6.5. Next up, Tiny Power.